Once again, welcome you all to the fourth session of Basics of Financial Modeling. In this session, we are going to cover the process of financial model development. And the participants will be able to demonstrate the process of developing a financial model. So, with the help of this model, you are able to understand the process of developing a financial model. So, when we are developing any type of model, there are lots of steps that we need to follow, right? So, in developing a financial model as well, there are so many steps that we need to follow. But the main steps that we need to follow in developing a financial model are, as mentioned over here. So, the first step that we need to uh, take to develop a financial model is planning and specification. Second is design and building the financial model. Then testing of the model is very much required, and then documentation of the developed model. So these are the four important steps that we need to take to develop a financial model. So now we'll see in detail what comes under planning and specification, design and building the financial model, then testing and documentation of the financial model development. Uh, so the first is planning and specification. As we know in planning, we need to plan what is to be done, when it is to be done, by whom it is to be done, right? So in the same manner, when we are developing a financial model, we need to do lots of planning and we need to specify the things that this thing is to be performed by this person and this person need to complete that particular task into this particular time period. So everything is to be specified in the developing a financial model as well. So how you plan time and effort for a financial modeling project depends a lot on how you usually handle your project. Lots of planning and specification are required to develop the best model, and there is a need to give specification about time, persons, inputs, and output variables and required assumptions. Uh, Concrete and detailed specification is one keystone for unbeaten financial modeling process. So we need to give specification, we need to plan in advance to develop a good financial model. So this is the first step in developing the financial model. Second one is after planning and specifying things, we need to design and we need to build a financial model. So designing and building the financial model is the actual core phase of the process. If your specification is good, this phase will be much easier. The specification should lay out the structure of the model in detail. When creating the sheets, make sure you work with one empty template sheet which is formatted according to any specification given and use that for every other sheet created. Right, so one empty sheet we need to use and then it is to be used for every other sheet that has been created. Then build the input sheet first. Make sure you have some data to work with. You should have some data. Only then you could work on Excel to develop a financial model. Ask the model users to provide you the actual data, or if it is not possible, then at least the virtual data, but the realistic data should be with you to develop the financial model. Fill the other sheets with life. With life means with the help with formulas. Make sure you start with the basic sheets such as profit and loss account, balance sheet, and include checks as you go along to avoid making mistakes which you would otherwise uncover only much later. And if you'll delay in finding out the mistakes, then it's very difficult to find out the error and do the corrections in your model. Stay in touch with the model users at all times and discuss the financial model regularly with them. That way, you make sure that it meets the expectation and that everyone is on the same page regarding what the model does and what it does not. So, these are the designing and building the model. Everyone should know what model we are going to develop, for whom we are going to develop, right? And every information should be passed on to the concerned person so that in future no problem will happen, right? So this is the designing and building the financial model. The third step to create or to build a financial model is testing the financial model. Now we have already planned everything, then we have built a financial model, but it is very much required to test that model in advance. Right, so this is the important phase of financial modeling, includes two important steps. So while building the model, you will include checks directly in the model. Some of these checks will be very common and will therefore be included already in the model. For example, if you'd like to test the balance sheet, sum of assets should be equal to the sum of equities and liabilities. So this is already tested thing. So the total of your assets should be equal to the equities and liabilities. So other checks will be more model specific. Some models, but not necessarily all models, will additionally contain complex macros. Macros means codification we need to give for a few models, and these are either essential for the model to function, just like as in case where input data must be transformed and complex calculations are needed that cannot be done with formulas, or rather optional, such as sensitivity analysis macro, which would generate an additional output but does not affect the normal output. So, in some models, we need to um, uh, that is put some macros or some codes, right, to develop the model. So testing of model is very much required. Only then we are able to understand whether our model is working properly or not. So this is the testing. After testing the model, we need to do the documentation of the financial model, recording of financial model. So this is again very important. After planning, developing, and testing the model, proper documentation is to be required in the process, which play a significant role to understand the model for everyone. A good documentation is needed to make sure that the model is handled properly and understandable to everyone, even for those users who were not the part of the development process. So, documentation is required for everyone, right? And through the documentation, we could easily understand how this model has been developed, right? What are the formulas has been put it into the model, and how the strategies have been fixed with the help of the model, so we could understand it very easily. So documentation are required. So these are the four important steps to develop a financial model: planning, developing, testing, and then documentation. With this, I would like to finish this session. Thank you.